Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ignite. This week, I'm here with Darina Garland from Ooni. Welcome, Darina.
Hi, Karen. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. So, Darina, could you start off by just telling us a little bit about Ooni?
Yes, thank you. So, Ooni, I guess we're best known for bringing pizza ovens to consumers everywhere around the world, but making them accessible and fit in your own back garden or in your kitchen. So, yeah, great pizza at home is what we're known for.
Amazing. Can you tell me a little bit about where are you from? Where did you go to school? And kind of what did you like to do when you were in school?
Yeah, of course. So I am from Portobello in Edinburgh. Grew up there, back living in Edinburgh now. I did live in London for quite a long time. Went to local primary and then went to Holyrood School in Edinburgh. When I was young, I was pretty good at school. I was kind of like really tried hard, pretty decent grades, but there wasn't like this obvious thing that I was going to do. It was creative, artistic. I remember having this conversation with my mum where she's like, what are you going to do kind of at the choosing my subjects? And I knew I wanted to go to university, but I didn't know exactly what. She was like, what about all the grad schemes? That didn't feel like who I wanted to be. And actually I got this amazing opportunity during fourth year to do some work experience. I organised my own with a friend to go to Leith Agency, which is an advertising agency in Edinburgh. And that was a real like magic moment for me, thinking about my career and what I wanted and just honestly just being creative for a living. So that was a real turning point for me.
I think that's really interesting because I think when I was in high school, I actually didn't realize you could be creative for a living. For me, I thought you had to go do a serious job and whatever that meant.
Yeah, I was about 16, or 15 or 16 when we did work experience, and it was a whole week. So got to, be in kind of a really cool office, meet different copywriters and creative directors, and then obviously like do loads of running around and learn all the different departments. Like some of it was less fun, some of it was really fun, but it just sparked this like there's people like you say actually being creative for a living. Made me think differently, and it actually then helped me make different choices after fifth year and in terms of what I studied. I'm such a big advocate of doing work experience because as well as getting good qualifications, which of course are important, I think meeting people, actually being quite cheeky and asking, can I come and help you? Can I work shadow? Can I do a bit of experience? Is definitely set me apart earlier, but also I can really see that with our team now for people that have done work experience and have like thought about trying to like be a bit front footed about decisions they make when they're younger and gaining experience.
Amazing. And what did you go on to study at uni?
Actually ended up doing a whole year working in between school and universities. So I did a year working as an office junior, essentially for Leith Agency, which is where I did my week. I was doing lots of like admin, learning how to like connect with different people. I worked quite a lot in the TV department, which was super fun, like making ads and supporting the making of adverts. And when I went to university, I did history of art with English. I also did a little bit of theatre studies in year one, but yeah, it was based on sort of creative thinking, really.
And did you know what you wanted to do at that point? Was being an entrepreneur on the radar at all?
Not at all. No, not at all. So whilst I was at university, I went to Glasgow Uni, which I love. Really recommend it. It's super nice actually to be away from home, but still able to come back. I did continued with some of the contacts that I'd made whilst I was an office junior at Leith Agency, and I worked for TV production companies part-time as well. Actually, I did quite a lot of waitressing, so I was working loads. I did running, so essentially like being on shoots and helping set up shoots. I did reception for this agency as well, so like literally greeting people, answering the phones, that kind of thing. And I also helped with like casting, so when people were looking for folks to be in ads, so it was really fun. And then again, met so many people. I ended up babysitting for the owners of the production company as well, so just like that was an amazing job whilst I was studying, because I could kind of work whilst they were out and like catch up on my studies whilst their children were in my care at night. So yeah, lots of different things I did, but I hadn't thought about being an entrepreneur at that point, although I have to say I was exposed to owners of businesses, like people running these, so I think it was slowly filtering in that you can do that. And one of the things I talk about quite a lot, which is why I like this project too, this program, is that I think you sort of need to see people in your world and then go, oh, okay, that's a thing you can do. So first with me, it was like there's amazing creative directors and creative people in the world. That sparked my interest. And then there's also people who are literally running their own businesses that I'm, looking after their kids, and I sort of see a little bit into their world.
One of the things that strikes me when you speak there is that you hadn't really thought about being an entrepreneur, but you were acting very entrepreneurial in that you were working in lots of different jobs, learning from lots of experiences, and going out and finding opportunities.
When I was 17 and I worked in Leith Agency, I earned a very little amount of money, but I paid a third of it to my mum for like housekeeping. At the time I was like, that is tough. I really noticed that amount that I gave to my mum, and I think she was completely right now in hindsight, because it taught me to think about budgeting and to the value of money really, really early on. Yeah, and then like you say, working at the same time as uni, sometimes in restaurants, it's a hard slog. I would really recommend people working in hospitality, because I think it gives you such a amazing experience. And now as an employer, I can tell people who've worked in hospitality in terms of how they, act with others often, or like the way they show up or the way they problem solve, even though doesn't jump out as the most obvious way to get into entrepreneurialism. I think dealing with the public and having to do lots of problem solving is actually quite entrepreneurial.
Absolutely. So what was your first business then?
So down in Kent, in the south of England, I was working in an art centre, so running various artist studios at the same time as doing my masters. And then this programme came up asking for creative practitioners to come and work in schools. So I got engaged in that and started running such diverse but creative projects. They were all completely different. One time we took a whole set of teachers from Essex over to a school in Peru to learn how they do things. Completely different. That was all about learning through play. So basically on the back of that, Kristian and I, who's my husband now, when we met, we started a business together called Sukla, which is a Finnish word that means chocolate. He's from Finland, and that was one of my first words I learned, important word. Nothing to do with our business, just a really cool word. And essentially it's about bringing innovation and creativity into school communities. We run a festival every year, which is for global education change makers, so people who are already trying to challenge how we do things in schools. We try and have all stakeholders there talking about building the future of learning. So super fun, making sure that young people are there, because it's super weird to design the future of learning without their voices in the mix, in my opinion.
Couldn't agree more. And it feels like that kind of came from so many of the varied experiences that you had that got you there. It wasn't like one thing you did that said, this is what I want to do. It was you did all these fascinating, interesting things, and from that saw a problem and saw something that you could help to address. How did that lead to pizza?
Well, so we were living in London at that point, moved from Kent to London. And I were married and were running Sukla. We had our first baby, who is almost 14, and is much, much taller than me. And so we were part-time working, each of us, I think probably about 3.5 days a week on the business. So we were juggling childcare. So Kristian's from Finland, as I mentioned, and his parents, when he was younger, ran a supermarket. And in that supermarket, his mum ran the bakery. So he's really got baking in his blood. So as he was at home, Oscar may have snatched a couple of hours sleep one day, unusual, but it happens sometimes. Kristian started to make pizza at home in our normal oven, the same oven that everyone would have in their kitchen. And it was okay. He was really disappointed that it was just all right. It didn't taste anything like pizza you might get in Italy or in a proper pizzeria. So he was like, why is that? And basically quite quickly discovered that the reason that those pizzas are really good is because they're cooked quickly, very quickly, within a minute to 2 minutes at a very high heat. Basically, traditional ovens in your house, they just can't get that hot. So then we started to mess about with ideas for a small outdoor oven and looked at fuel sources that could get to that high. So sort of double your domestic oven, about 450 Celsius, 500 degrees Celsius, and started messing about with a prototype for this, what essentially became Ooni. So Ooni is, especially the first ones, were about the size of a carry-on suitcase. Heat up in a few minutes and then fire out pizzas in 60 seconds. And what we did with the initial concept was we got someone who was used to being a metal welder to mock this up for us, using scrap metal essentially. Our back garden, we found some pictures of it recently. It looked like an evil episode of Scrap Heap Challenge, honestly. And we're like there with our baby, sort of juggling all of these things. But anyway, this metal welded, sort of Frankenstein-esque prototype came back, managed to get it to work. And in looking at those videos now, we're like, the pizza looked terrible, but it worked. So we had something to work with. Then we launched it on Kickstarter. So Kickstarter, if you don't know, is a crowdfunding platform. And what that allowed us to do is sort of test this idea and say, do people like it? We made a really scrappy video because we both met studying photography and did a bit of videography. Low key, honestly, looking at it now. And we set our goal. So the idea on Kickstarter is that if you like it, you'd buy the product. And if we reached our goal, then the project was successful, and then we made them. And I think we shipped in our first run about 90 ovens or 92 or something ovens around the world. And what was great about that was we instantly had global customers. So probably about 50% of our customers were over in North America, in the US or Canada, lots over here. And that was it. The business was born.
Amazing. What a great way, though, to take an idea and test it to see if there's any interest before you go and create this massive production line and all of these kind of things.
Yeah, you literally are paid up front, which is a rare thing. And, we've actually since done crowdfunding for ovens that we've done a few years ago and raised over £1 million with our raise. It's still a really viable business model. And what's great about that crowdfunding community is that they are usually very into new ideas and new, they're the early adopters. If you've heard that term in businesses, it's those are the people you want to kind of get excited and build that passion.
And so you started selling 90 ovens. How many have you sold since then?
Millions. I think it probably it's under 3 million. And then lots of accessories and lots of other we've just launched actually a new mixer, which is for making dough, and especially pizza dough and bread dough are really hard to make with sort of regular dough mixers that you get in households. So we've developed this technology. We're launching that in a few weeks. Goes on sale in a few weeks, so we're also breaking a little bit beyond and looking at categories that are related to pizza and grow hopefully bigger so that people now trust the name Ooni. What else can we give them to level up their cooking at home?
Fantastic. And what do you think were the keys to success in terms of the marketing of it? Because obviously to go from 90 to millions and millions, which is amazing, what did you do to help get the word out and to build the brand?
Lots of things. I think the beautiful thing in hindsight was that because we launched on a crowdfunding platform, it was a very authentic story. So the idea came from a problem we had. It was real. We weren't like, how do we make money? We were like, how do we get better pizza at home for us? And then, so it was really authentic. But that authenticity means that you haven't had to weave in a story, right? We've just been able to say, we wanted this, we think this is a brilliant market. Who doesn't like great pizza? Who doesn't deserve great pizza at home? And then because we've launched on Kickstarter, it's an instant community. And so straight after our Kickstarter, we had all this press coming in around the world. And then after that, found that people were so keen to show off their pizzas that they were making and the food they were making. So very sort of Instagrammable, very shareable and social. Usually they look great, but even when they look bad, when they've sort of messed up a pizza, they're like, oh, disaster. And what we found was it was originally probably the biggest community was on Facebook. Now there's lots of different, TikToks and YouTube communities as well for Ooni, but it's like people are giving each other tips. So, they'd be like, you just put too many toppings on there and that's why it's sticking to the peel. So people love to talk about it. If you think about it, it's probably the most shareable food there is because you can personalize it, so that brings people in. But you can also it's informal. You can have people over for pizza. They can choose their own toppings, but also you can share a slice. So we were able to talk really openly to this community. So that's the thing I would advise anyone starting a business or thinking about is to try and build a relationship with people who will be your customers. We always thought about our consumers, our customers as our community. And the fact is that when they backed our original project on Kickstarter, they won if we won. So if we raised the money to be able to make it, they got their product. It was win-win. And so And I think it helped me think really early on, this isn't about a way to try and get money out of people. It's a way of trying to like be mutually beneficial and go like, how can we help them solve their problems in the kitchen, and how can, yeah. So I think that mindset early on of going, it's a community, not a group of consumers, was quite helpful.
Such an important switch of I'm trying to sell things to these people, but actually what I'm trying to do is galvanize this community about something that we all care about.
Yeah,
We're all
great.
really passionate about. And what would be some, you've had so many wins across the journey of the business. Are there any that you're particularly proud of?
Um, I'm really, really proud of having like best place to work awards. So like both, so I'd say, so Kristian and I co-run the business together, are married. We have like complementary skill sets. So I'm definitely really care about the team, the community, the people that are here, like marketing, talking to people authentically. And so culture really matters to me. So it was really beautiful to win like some best places to work awards. So that's voted by your team. Like how do we make sure the team are really engaged? Because honestly, we won't be successful unless we've got great people here. We've won quite a lot of design awards for the products. We created this category. I think one of the best bits of recognition and really sort of key milestones for me was 2 years ago, we were 10 as a business. And it was really shocking to me, like, how did this happen? It feels like we were just babies with our scrap heap challenge back garden. And we got the whole team, so we've got offices all over the world. We've got offices in Australia, in China, in America, we've got some in Germany. And so we got everyone over to our HQ, which is here in Edinburgh, and had a 3-day sort of festival. We held a conference festival, and then we had a big party at the Museum of Scotland to celebrate Ooni being 10. And that, to see the team, lots of whom hadn't met together, but who are like really shared the same values, get on and like learn together and party together and sort of help us think about the next 10 years of Ooni and beyond, was so like pinch me moment.
Yeah, I love that so much. People sometimes forget that business is actually about people. If there's someone in high school who's thinking, maybe I'd be interested in starting a business, what skills might you recommend that they try to gain now, and how might they do it?
I would say probably unique to my experience that I really want to encourage people at school to do. I've touched on this already. Connect with people. So spend time in organisations that you think are exciting. If you think carefully and it's not just like a scattergun approach, like who is it that I'm really excited by? How can I gain experience? Usually people say yes. So I think like one of the things that stands out to me, apart from passion and that spark behind your eyes, is that sense of like being front-footed. It's a really busy world out there, and I think you've got one life. Feel empowered to help design it, like, and go like, what is it I really want to do with my life and career and my time? And you can be entrepreneurial in any business, by the way. It doesn't need to be your own business. You can bring that to the way that you design your life generally. But I think at this amazing young stage, there's so many challenges in the world. It's a tough world, but having that belief that you're in control of how you design it, you're in control of lots of it.
Anything that you haven't mentioned already that you wish you knew when you were in high school that you know now?
Oh, I think there's so much, honestly. I talk about this quite a lot with my friends that are like my age, going like, oh, I wish I didn't worry about the small things. As you get older, you realise the things you should worry about are not those kind of. I'm definitely wish I was a bit more of a big picture thinker and go like, what direction of travel do I want to get there, and trust that I can do it. I would say the main thing that would get you there is experience, talking to people, understanding other people's stories. I'm really trying to cultivate in my children and ask them to be curious about other people. I think that is my favourite attribute in anyone. So if you're talking to someone, I was pretty shy as a teenager, and I found it hard to make eye contact or talk to adults, so I do appreciate that can be challenging. But someone who's genuinely interested in you is so charismatic and you want to help them. So be curious about people, ask questions. It really opens doors for you. So I wish that I was more curious sooner.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's amazing. Thank you so much for bringing such amazing pizza into the world. And
Thank
I'm
you for
excited to see where Ooni and you go next. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Karen.